special solo edition of our episode where we dive into the world of athletic training, healthcare, and performance. I'm your host, Victoria Morris, and we're going deeper into the part of the profession we don't talk about enough, our mental health. This episode is called Inside the Athletic Trainer's Mind, the Mental Health of Athletic Trainers. Because behind every taped ankle, every late night treatment, every calm voice during the chaos, there's a person who's carrying a lot. Us as athletic trainers, we're the ones who are expected to stay steady, to show compassion, to fix problems fast, but that kind of responsibility comes with a lot of weight. So today we're going to slow down. We're going to pack all the stress, the burnout, and the emotional toll of athletic training and talk about what we can do to take care of ourselves while we care for everyone else. So let's get into it. First off, before we start, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything you want to say them down there in the chat below. This is being live streamed on multiple platforms, so I'm actually looking at a bunch of different screens right now. So if I don't get to your question as soon as you say it or ask it, feel free to continue watching and I will get to it as soon as I can. At the end of this episode, I am going to have a Q&A at the end to go over all the questions and comments that were posted. So let's start with the reality of this profession of athletic training. Early mornings, late nights, game days that turn into game weekends. You're taping, you're stretching, you're rehabbing, you're documenting, you're coordinating, and often before you even had your first real meal, right? We're constantly always on. We're mentally, emotionally, and physically always on for our athletes. And when an athlete goes down, the world expects us to be composed, calm under pressure. That's part of the job, right? But that composure takes effort, it takes emotional labor, and it stacks up fast. What most people don't see are the invisible hours that athletic trainers put in. That charting after everyone's gone, the emails from coaches late at night or early in the morning, the second guessing of our decisions all the time. Actually, studies show that athletic trainers experience significantly higher rates of burnout and stress than many other healthcare professionals. And it makes sense, actually. Our jobs demand everything from us. Today's Saturday. So I want you athletic trainers out there to think about your last week. Think about last night at those football games, those soccer games, those volleyball games. How many times did you stop to check in on yourself? Not your athletes, not your coach, not your family, but you. How many times did you stop and think and check in on yourself? Probably coming up really small numbers, correct? Maybe once, maybe twice. So, what is causing the weight of the mental health challenges in athletic trainers? We need to put some names to some things that we're feeling, right? What we're dealing with. Some of this isn't clickbait. These are words that we hear all over the internet. It's all over LinkedIn. It's all over the articles that we're seeing now, right? But what is it that we're exactly dealing with? There's four main things I want to talk about. Burnout, compassion fatigue, imposter syndrome, and isolation. This is what's really happening behind our profession and behind athletic trainers. So let's give a little definition to each one. Burnout, what is it? It's that physical and emotional exhaustion from giving more than you get back. I like to express this or explain it as this is when you go to the football game, the kids are getting announced, the coaches are being announced, your media team or who, if you're at a small school, your IT team, whatever is being announced, and then the athletic trainer is forgotten. Or a great example was when I was in high school and I was a student trainer, we went to a all sports banquet. So all the sports in the whole high school just had a banquet at the end of the year, right? And every, sports team and coach is introduced and given out awards and things like that. And then before we know it, the whole entire banquet is done and the athletic trainers weren't recognized. The students weren't recognized, the full-time staff, AT wasn't recognized. And that was a little disheartening. And that was a little like of a wake-up call for us as kids that we don't do this profession for the money or for the fame or for the recognition, but we do it because we love it. But that is burnout. Okay. Compassion fatigue. When caring for others starts to drain your own emotional reserves. This is where you go to work, You used to love your job, but now you're just there because it's a paycheck, right? Um, you don't care whether your athletes get better or worse. You don't really have a lot of emotion towards your job, good or bad. You're just there. Imposter syndrome, this is feeling like you're never doing enough, never expert enough at anything. You never are caught up enough. This is really, really common in our athletic training students and our young professionals, that just feeling like no matter what you do, you don't know enough, you can't do enough, you'll never be that expert, you're never going to get this. And then just self deprecation and negative thoughts just run through your mind. And then the last one is isolation. This is especially for those ATs that are working solo, or maybe you're covering multiple sports, or maybe you're at a college that you're in that one gym or that one athletic training room far at the end of the, campus, and you never get to see your coworkers. You're out there on an island. That's isolation. But again, these aren't just buzzwords. They're red flags that are waving like a hurricane right in front of us. In fact, research from the Journal of Athletic Training has shown that more than half of ATs report symptoms of burnout. That's crazy. I mean, think about it. There's 50,000 ish athletic trainers in this country. And this is saying that of the sampled athletic trainers, 50% of them were reporting symptoms of burnout. If that's translated amongst all 50,000 athletic trainers in the country, that's 25,000 athletic trainers that are experiencing some form of burnout in the profession. What are some factors that they're saying are igniting this? The long hours, the minimal administrative support, the lack of pay, the emotional demands of caring for another individual. Those are all considered the primary factors. But here's the thing. Athletic trainers just keep showing up. Because at our core, that's who we are. We're helpers, we're problem solvers. We tell ourselves it's just a busy season, it's just a busy year. It'll get better when playoffs end, it'll get better when I get to the summer. But here's the thing, and I'm going to tell you this now, it doesn't always get better, right? Not unless we address it. I remember when I was a young professional, early in my career as a solo AT, I would get so exhausted, both physically, mentally. I'd forget what day it was. I'd forget to even eat sometimes. And then I'd get home, I'd sit in my car, it would be silent, quiet, not talking, just staring out the window, trying to decompress before I even walked in my house because I hadn't had a moment to myself all day. But here's the thing, I told myself that was normal, but it's not. That is your body and your mind begging, pleading you for rest, to take a moment and take care of yourself. So, for the athletic trainers that are listening on the social media platforms that I'm posting this on, or for anybody listening to the audio or the recorded YouTube labor, I want you to think about a couple real scenarios. I'm going to go over some scenarios that all of us athletic trainers, athletic training students, we see probably on a daily basis. The first one we're going to talk about is I want you to think of your star football player, your star soccer player, your star basketball player. They tear their ACL mid-season. Let's just say it's a senior. Let's just make it even worse, right? Their season, potentially their career is over, right? And as the athletic trainer, we have to be that calm, that guy, the voice of reassurance while we're hiding our own heartbreak for them. I mean, we get really close to these athletes. Sometimes they become like our own children, and then they tear their ACL, and instead of crying and getting to be there for them, we have to be that solid rock, right? That can take a lot out on us. So that just happened. Now let's turn around to the next week. You now have a 12-hour tournament weekend. So let's just say it was a baseball tournament. You've been outside all day long. You haven't eaten more than a granola bar, but you're still locked in because someone on that field might need you. You never know when an emergency might happen. So while you may be sitting in the gator, sitting in the dugout, it looks to fans, it looks to parents, it looks to athletes like you're not doing anything. Your mind is constantly going, what do I do if this happens? What do I do if this happens? Oh, somebody just, hit a home run. Yay for them. Like your mind never shuts off. So then flash forward to after that tournament. So you just had the ACL kid. You just now had a 12-hour tournament. Now we're in the quiet moments of that athletic training room. Everyone's gone. You're the last person at the school. We know how it is. First one's in, last one's out. You finally get to sit down and realize that you haven't had an actual conversation with somebody over the age of 18 all week. You haven't had a real conversation with someone outside of sports in 2 days, right? Not the talking to your athletes about their injuries, about the games, things like that. That's not a real conversation. You haven't gone and talked about your favorite book or your favorite TV show or, talked to your friends from college or where. No, it's been your athletes, it's been your coaches, it's been parents the whole week. Those moments build up. They don't always show on the outside. Like people think you're, that calm, collected athletic trainer. You're always happy. You're always there for your athletes. Nothing can set you off. But internally, they stack up and they just keep stacking up. Every event just stacks up on itself, right? And then eventually your brain fills that fog. Your patience thins. Everything sets you off. You get frustrated very easily. This part is where self-awareness becomes your biggest ally. You can't change the chaos. We work in sports. We work in non 9 to 5 settings usually, but we can control how we respond to said chaos. This all starts with recognizing how we as athletic trainers feel without guilt. No matter what we feel, we can't feel guilty about it. And then admitting that it's okay. It's hard. Being an athletic trainer is not easy. It's hard. And we need to understand that it's okay to recognize that. So here's a mind shift that I've learned that's really helped me out, that vulnerability isn't weakness. We talk about it with our athletes. We tell them it's okay to not be okay, but we need to start practicing what we preach. We can still be strong, professional, and composed as athletic trainers, but also at the same time admit that we're struggling. And admit that we're struggling without that stigma. But here's where I really want to get into the weeds, right? We can bring awareness to something, and I can take this motto and say it to anything, whether it's pay for athletic trainers, whether it's, anything like injury wise, whatever. We can bring awareness to something, but we can't create change without action. So again, we can bring awareness that there is a crisis of mental health in athletic trainers, but without any solutions, we're not going to change it. So what are the solutions we need to do? First, we need to start with ourselves. Us as athletic trainers, us as individuals, we need to start advocating for ourselves, taking care of ourselves. And a few things that we can do, and some of the most important things I think we can do, number one is we need to set boundaries, and then we need to stick to them. Okay, this isn't pre-1970 where we work for the coaches and we do whatever they say, right? We decide when our day ends and when it starts. Unless it specifically says in your contract that your day starts at such and such time and ends at this time, we need to decide when our day starts and ends. And we need to stick to it. So if you have sporting events, it doesn't necessarily need to be the same time every day, but maybe you get there 2 hours before the game or the practice starts and you stay 30 to 45 minutes after, and that's it. Stop staying later, stop getting there earlier just because somebody else wants you to. Another thing is the word no is a complete sentence. I don't know how many times I can say that, and I don't know how many times athletic trainers need to hear it, but the word no is a complete sentence. When somebody asks you to do something that is not within your contract, that you don't necessarily want to do or need to do, you can say no and not have to explain why. A great example is, I feel like for myself, we have a preseason meeting with all of our coaches, all of our administrators, the athletic trainers, our athletic training students, and we all get together and we sit down. And one of the things I really harp on is 24-hour rule. So if I am not notified of any schedule changes, any venue changes, anything like that within 24 hours, I am not guaranteed to be at that event. Now, obviously, there are exceptions such as weather, or electrical malfunction is something that we need to change the game. That's an exception. But if a coach, say on a Friday night, their team loses the game, He's upset about it. He decides to have early morning Saturday practice that was never scheduled on the schedule that you received. And he doesn't decide that until 11 o'clock at night. I'm not guaranteed to be there. My rationale behind that is here in the state of Texas, most coaches, if not all coaches, are CPR certified, AED certified. If there's an emergency, what am I going to do different than a coach is going to do? For the most part, honestly, we're both calling 911. We're both performing CPR, or if it's in the event of an injury that needs to be stabilized, coaches are trained, i.e., I train them at the beginning of the year how to, do a simple splint or, something like that. Obviously, spine injury, don't move them, things like that, right? They know this. They're trained on it every single year. So if they're going to have that early morning Saturday practice and it's less than 24 hours notice, I'm leaving out water, I'm leaving out ice, a small injury medical kit, and coach can have his practice. Somebody gets hurt in that practice that's not an emergency, text me and I will see them Monday morning. Not much is going to change from that Saturday to that Monday. Obviously, injuries that are severe or emergencies, parents want to take them to the doctor, athlete wants to go to the doctor. Absolutely. I'm not going to say no to that. But I am not expected to be on call 24/7 unless my contract specifically states 24 hours, 7 days a week. I'm not. Unless it specifically says that you have to work 9 to 9 at night or whatever. If it says 80 hours in 2 weeks, I'm going to get my 80 hours. I'm just going to break it up. Another thing we need to do within those boundaries is create a division between home and work. Silence those notifications after hours if you can. Don't look at your emails. Don't look at your texts. Don't answer your phone calls unless it's an absolute emergency. A coach calling you to ask you where the coolers are for practice to fill up water is not an emergency. Okay? An email that's telling you, hey, this is the practice schedule for next week and it's a Saturday, you can look at that on Sunday. You can look at that on Monday morning. It doesn't need to be done right then and there. Protect your rest time. Make time to rest. This is coming from me. This isn't like, a proven thing, but to me, like meal prepping, laundry, cleaning your house, doing like all those chores is not self-care. That there should be time dedicated to that, and then there should be time dedicated to doing something like resting, doing something that you think is fun, and true self-care. So in the case of for me, I do a lot of my necessity stuff on Saturdays, and then Sunday is self-care Sunday for me. That's where I go to yoga. That's where I go, to the park and read a book. I take my dog to the pet store to buy him a toy or something that makes me happy. I go to candle making class or something like that. But that is all Sunday. I don't think about work. I don't think about athletic training at all, the profession, anything on Sundays. Saturdays, that is where I do all the stuff I need to do to be an adult. Pay my mortgage, get my oil changed on my car, things like that. But I make specific times for that because otherwise you're going to be sitting around all week stressed because, oh, I've got to get my, service done on my car or I got to figure out a time to go see the doctor. No, set aside time for that. Set your boundaries. Coach, I'm going to the doctor for 2 hours. I will be back when I'm back, right? Number 2 we need to do is we need to set up a small circle of peer support. We need other athletic trainers to talk to. Young ATs out there, if you've just moved to a new town, you don't know anybody, get out there, meet those athletic trainers, reach out to the other schools in your area, reach out to those athletic trainers. You need somebody to vent, share, and decompress with. And other athletic trainers get it. It's really hard, us as athletic trainers, we know, to vent and share about our days and our weeks with those that aren't in our same setting, right? Even talking to nurses, even talking to PTs, they don't always get it. We need somebody else who understands us, who gets it, what it's like to have that frustrating coach or that amazing athlete that just does all the rehab you ask them to without question, right? We need that small circle of peer support. You need to have somebody that you can call if shit goes down. You have to do CPR. You had to spine board somebody, splint somebody. You need somebody that when you call them, they're going to answer. Preferably, again, an athletic trainer, so they know what you went through. They know the emotional toll that takes. Another thing I call tradition rituals. This is something that you do after work. again, emphasis on the after work, that signals this is the end of the day, right? So for us athletic trainers, our days bleed together. So yes, we've left work, but sometimes we get text messages, calls, emails, or maybe we're even watching NFL Sunday or something and we see an injury on the TV. We need to have something that clearly tells our brain we are no longer at work. We are no longer at the school. We're no longer at the clinic. We're no longer, at the facility. Our day is done. This could be a walk around the building before you get in your car. It could be a special playlist that you listen to. Maybe you even drive in silence, but something that helps your brain reset. So, like for me, what I do is I drive. So I live 30 minutes from work, and my coaches and my athletes always are like, "How do you do that? It's such a long drive, right?" I've always done it, and I do it for a reason. When I leave my athletic training room, when I leave my office and I get in my car, I don't listen to anything on the drive home. Now, I love podcasts, I love music, but I don't listen to it because what I do on that 30-minute drive from my office to my front door in my house is I go through everything for the day. What did I forget to do? Oh, I should have said this in that meeting. Oh, I need to call these parents tomorrow. Oh, I, need to make sure this athlete comes in for his rehab, or I need to order this bracer, whatever it is. When I pull into my driveway and I walk into my front door, that's it. No more athletic training. I don't make TikToks anymore. Besides this, I don't watch sports and think about the athletic trainers in those sports much anymore. I don't get on social media much and talk about athletic training. I'm done. I don't do anything for work. I don't, finish my group chats, nothing like that. I am done. In the morning when I wake up, I listen to my podcast, I do all my things, getting ready for work. And then as soon as I get in my car to go to work, again, I'm not listening to anything. I'm not doing podcasts or anything like that. I'm going through my mental to-do list of the things I need to do that day. Okay, I need to turn on the hydroculator. I need to send the budget out. I need to do A, B, C, and D. And then when I get to work, I start checking off those boxes. When the day is done, I get in my car and then I decompress. That's where I decompress for the day. And that is me resetting my brain, telling myself, I'm at work, I'm at home, I'm at whatever event I'm at that's neither of those things. And it's made clear boundaries for me. I no longer get stressed when I'm at home. I no longer think about home things when I'm at work. There's a clear line that I don't cross. The next thing I think could kind of be a controversial topic, but we need to start moving our bodies for us. And what I mean by that is we preach it to athletes, right? We tell them they need to stretch, they need to work on their flexibility, they need to roll out things, they need to get up and move. They can't be sitting in their seats in class all the time because they're going to get stiff. But we need to do that too. So I'm not saying go out there and join a, body competition, be able to become the strongest man in the country, or, go play a rec sport or anything, although that's great for you if you do. But what I'm saying is we need to exercise purely for our own mental clarity. We know that exercise is good for you, both physically and mentally. But while we preach it to our athletes and we tell our athletes to do it, we don't do it for ourselves. We do exercise because it's part of the job. We walk the 15,000 steps on a football sideline. We do the squats because we need to show an athlete how to squat. We do RDLs because it's a part of our athletes' rehab and we're showing them. We weight lift because we need to carry that 10-gallon cooler of water and ice to our car to the field, right? But we don't really move our body for us. So that's go out there, join yoga, stretch with your athletes. Like, heck, sometimes I go out there with my volleyball team before their practices when they're doing their warm-ups and they're stretching, and I join them. Because think about it. When was the last time you actually stretched? Like, when was the last time you bent down and touched your toes? Stretched out your arms? Like, I mean, that wasn't a part of work, right? So I think we need to add that in there. And then last, if none of that is working, you're still just so frustrated, you're still down on yourself, you just feel the burnout just creeping in, this is probably where professional counseling comes in. Therapists aren't just for crisis. So yes, you have a major crisis that goes on in your life or at work or anything like that. There is a separate person you can reach out to, talk to on that, right? But just getting a counselor or getting somebody to talk to, that's for maintenance. That's preventative. We preach about how prevention is, be all end all, right? We tell our athletes, hey, it's better to prevent an injury than let it actually happen. But yet we're not preventing ourselves from burning out. We're just going on the grind and we're not doing anything to help. Having a neutral space to process stress is powerful. And notice I said stress, not bad stress. We all have good and bad stress in our life. Bad stress is the long hours, the pay, the frustrating coaches, the practices that keep getting moved. Our team sucks and they're losing, right? Those are all bad things. But then we also have really good things that happen in our life that are stressful as well. Buying a new house, getting married, having kids, buying a new car, anything like that. That's all good things, but it's also stressful, right? You have to plan for it. How are you going to pay for it? Kids, how I now have kids. How am I going to take care of them and do my job? But kids aren't bad. We have that good and that bad, and we have to balance it out. Some of us just don't know how to do that, myself included. That's where a therapist can come in. So again, it's okay to not be okay as long as we take care of ourselves before it becomes that problem. Now, before we move on, I just want to do a quick breathing check, because when was the last time you just took a moment to actually breathe? A deep breath to relax yourself, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes. You're going to inhale for 2 seconds. You're going to hold it for 2 seconds. And then you're going to exhale for 4 seconds. That's it. That's your reset for the day. Sometimes the smallest reset in your day can shift your whole mindset. Sometimes all it takes is those 4 seconds of deep breathing to make a bad day better. So my challenge for the athletic trainers and the athletic training students out there, this week, try scheduling one 15-minute, I call it no trainer time, every day. 15 minutes minimum in your day where you don't answer or read emails. No athlete talk. I'm telling you, not talking with your athletes, not talking about sports, not watching, your favorite team, whatever it is. And then no to-do lists. It's just you in the moment, present, resetting your brain. 15 minutes a day. And just watch how your mindset changes, right? I got this from our mental readiness team when I worked with the Army's H2F team. And it was amazing at how just simple things can just reset our brain. But it's not enough for us as individuals, for us as athletic trainers, to do all the work. This profession of athletic training has to change. This culture of hustle and grind in sports is changing. We already see it in college sports, especially college football, right? But the support staff of that, the athletic training, the healthcare of those sports and those athletics of that traditional setting need to change. I mean, look what's happening now, right? People are leaving this profession in droves. They're going for those non-traditional settings, the tactical settings, the clinic, the industrial. Why? Why are they doing that? Because the traditional setting isn't giving us what we want or what we need. We're craving that work-life balance. We're craving the ability to go home and not have to think about our jobs. The ability to afford bills, right? It pays better. All of that is a culture. All of that is this athletic culture, and it needs to change. But how? How is it going to change? We talk about mental health of our athletes all the time now, right? 20, 30 years ago, we didn't do that. Mental health wasn't talked about as much because you were considered soft, or, men hid their emotions. You were considered a girl or a baby if you talked about it or you cried. So we didn't talk about mental health in sports. And then there was a big boom in the 2010s where we started to see that there was a problem. So we got those cognitive performance specialists. We got those sports psychologists. They joined in. They helped the athletes. But now we're starting to see post-COVID, especially, that there is a crisis of mental health issues and mental health illness within healthcare professionals and within sports. What are athletic trainers? The bridge between healthcare and sports, right? So I think that mental health support should be a standard conversation in athletic training rooms, not just for our athletes, but for the athletic trainers, for the coaches, for the support staff. I mean, we're not the only ones going through this. Strength and conditioning coaches have the same issues we do. SIDs, same, overworked, underpaid. Mental health among your support staff should not be an afterthought. Our program directors, our athletic directors, supervisors, team doctors, coaches, they can all be a part of the solution by normalizing check-ins and respecting those boundaries. I mean, take a second. When was the last time somebody that wasn't your athletic trainer, wasn't your athlete, came in and checked on you? When was the last time your coach just came in and asked you, "Hey, how are you doing?" And wasn't followed up like, "Oh, by the way, we're doing this, this, and this at practice." Just a complete check-in. Didn't have any ulterior motives, right? Doesn't happen very often. Imagine if every preseason meeting or every pre-semester meeting or every, monthly or quarterly meeting if you're in a clinic included a mental health segment. So, a part of that meeting, they just broke off a little time and it was to talk about everyone's mental health or, learn ways to help with our mental health or self-care. Imagine if our time off, our PTO, our paid time off wasn't seen as a weakness, or we weren't made to feel guilty about using it, even if we are in season, right? If an athletic trainer needs to take time off because they're sick, or they need to go to a funeral, they need to go to a wedding, or they just need a mental health day, and we're in the season, they shouldn't be made to feel guilty for taking said day. And to all the program directors or, athletic directors, coaches out there that are listening, if you have to make your athletic trainer feel guilty to keep them to stay so they don't take a mental health day or don't take PTO, that says more about your program than the athletic trainer. Maybe you need to hire another athletic trainer so that there's somebody always there. Maybe your coaches should be trained in CPR first aid if they're not, or get a part-time athletic trainer. But you should be doing everything you can to help your athletic trainers, not the other way around. I should not have to accommodate 14 different teams so I can take one day off. That's not the way it works, right? I'm one person. So the best athletic trainers to me, and again, this is totally biased, but I think the best athletic trainers are the ones who know their limits. We know what we can and we can't do. Again, I'm one person, and I'm one person. We have 800 athletes at my school. It's not feasible for me to be able to do everything. They're good communicators. Those athletic trainers are great at communicating. Hey, I'm struggling. I need a day off, or you guys need to help me. Like coaches, I can't be expected to set up 5 different fields because everybody's practicing at the same time. Maybe I'll fill the water, you come get it. Or, I'll be in the training room, send your kids to me, or stagger out your treatments, or whatever it is. And then those same athletic trainers, they model balance. Athletes are going to mirror what you do and what you say, right? If you sit there and they tell them, you need to eat right, you need to drink water, you need to be stretching, you need to be doing all these things, and then you don't turn around and do it yourself, what does that say to your athletes? What does that say to your coaches? What does that say to your family? We need to model that same balance. We need to practice what we preach. And it all comes down to the fact that when you take care of yourself, not as an athlete, you're just taking care of yourself as a human, you give athletes permission to do the same. Not all athletes think they can do this. Not all athletes come from so to my college ATs out there, not all high schools have athletic trainers. You may have an athlete that never had an athletic trainer. They never knew about this stuff. So when you tell them, hey, you need to be drinking water, electrolytes, you need to be eating healthy, you need to be stretching, you need to be foaming, all these things, they may have never known that or heard that before. But if they turn around and see you doing it, you're having water, you're drinking the Gatorade, you're eating healthy snacks, then they're like, oh, she does it. I can do it too. It's not that hard. But when you tell an athlete, oh, you need to drink more water, you're not drinking enough water, and you turn around and you're drinking nothing but caffeine and energy drinks and coffee and sodas and never having water in front of them, they're going to be, oh, it doesn't matter. She never has it, right? He never has it. So we need to be out there doing what we tell our athletes we're going to do. But again, it's not just coming from us. The culture needs to change. College athletics, high school athletics needs to change, and we need to keep pushing for that shift. We need to go from that constant grind culture and tough it out culture to one that values longevity, mental clarity, and well being. Stop telling our athletes they're being soft. I mean, imagine being told that over a span of 12, 15, 20 years, and that's all you ever hear. You're soft, you're soft, you're soft. Every time they get hurt, oh, well, just suck it up. That's going to take a mental toll on their athletes. That's what's happening to our athletic trainers as well. So really quick, before we wrap it up, I want all the athletic trainers, all the coaches, anybody out there who's watching this or is listening to the recording later, I want you to take a moment. I want you to think about what's been weighing on you lately. Today's Saturday. We've had a whole week of sports, games, practices. What part of your routine feels unsustainable? Now, I want you to take that one thing and commit to one small change this week that protects your mind. Not your schedule, not your athletes, but you. Maybe that one small thing is sleeping in an extra hour on the weekends, or maybe it's cutting out some caffeine, or maybe it's going to a class that you enjoy, but something that's going to help you. We need to move from that silent suffering of burnout, mental health, to open conversations. From that just push through to the how can I support you? How can we support you? Again, imagine if athletic directors or program directors built in wellness checks the way we do equipment checks. Maybe our staff meetings included space to talk about our workload or our mental health. The truth is, when we model healthy behaviors, healthy boundaries, our athletes learn from that. When we normalize saying, I need a break, it gives that athlete permission to do the same. But we can't change everything overnight. Nothing's going to change in the next 6 months, the next year. But this conversation needs to move the needle towards the healthier, more sustainable profession. We as athletic trainers, we need to think about what part of our week drains us the most. Now, once we have that idea, what can we change? Again, we can't change the actual sport of football, right? We can't change the number of concussions we're going to see within reason. We can do things, but what are we going to do to make it better? Maybe it's eating before that second practice, or maybe it's saying no to covering one extra event. Maybe it's just letting yourself rest without feeling guilty, because our mind deserves the same care that we give everyone else's bodies. Again, I'm going to say that again because I just love that. But our mind deserves the same care that we give everyone else's bodies. I say a lot, like, who's taking care of the athletic trainer when they're taking care of everyone else, right? So that's your question for the day. Who is taking care of you as the athletic trainer when you're taking care of everybody else? Just going to sit with that for a moment. So, we're going to wrap up this episode. If anybody has any comments, questions they want answered or to talk about, you can definitely post it down in the comments section. Again, I have multiple screens going, but I want you to think about the things that were talked about in the last 30, 40 minutes or so. And if anything in this episode resonated with you, where you're like, yeah, I really need to do that, or I know somebody who really needs to do that, I want you to share it with other athletic trainers. Share it with your coworkers, share it with your students. Or honestly, anybody who just needs a reminder that they're not alone. I can't tell you how many athletic trainers have reached out to me over the last 4 years since I shared my own mental health struggles on social media. And the amount of athletic trainers that have said, it's so nice to know I'm not the only one who feels this way. So nice to know that I'm not the only one who struggles with this or struggles with that. How do I get over imposter syndrome? How do I think I'm depressed? What do I do? Like, I see it all the time. And there's nowhere for anyone to talk about it or to, find resources because it's something that we feel is a taboo and that we shouldn't talk about. So, if you want to reach out later on and not publicly on here, you can follow me on all my social media. If you're watching this right now, you're watching it on one of my social medias. If you are listening to the audio version of this or the recorded version of this on YouTube, you can follow me at Morris_ATC or at Coach Morris AT on TikTok. I'm all over Twitter, Instagram, all the places. But there I can definitely talk about health, the recovery, and those lives on the sideline. But yeah, definitely like the struggle is real. One thing, so I went from the Army back to high school setting this year, just in a different capacity a little bit. And one thing I told myself at the beginning of the year, and I kind of have to remind myself of this like weekly, if not daily, right? But I'm getting paid the same whether I'm stressing or I'm vibing. So this year I've pretty much just been vibing because my paycheck's not going to change whether I do one or the other. And that's a really great reminder for me this year to be like, hey, I don't need to stress over this. There's no reason. Parent calls me upset. Oh, well, like I'm still going to get paid on the 1st and the 15th. Like, and I think athletic trainers need to understand that. Like, yes, we're here for our athletes, but like our athletes shouldn't consume our entire life. They shouldn't consume our entire mind. Another thing that like I've heard said before is you can't take care of somebody else when you're running on empty. It's just that you can't fill from an empty cup. Like you can't give somebody else 100% if you're not 100% yourself. You have to take care of your mind. We sit out there and we're like, oh, we work 110%. We give 110%. How are you giving someone, a patient, an athlete, a client, 110% if you're not even at 100%? And 100% is mind, body, soul, spirit, like all the things, all the holistic things, right? If even one of those little pieces is broken, so in H2F, we have the 6 domains, right? We have the spiritual, the nutritional, the sleep, the mental, and the physical. If any of those are broken, you're not well rounded. The circle is no longer a circle, right? And so I think us as athletic trainers, we tend to really focus on our athletes holistically, but not us. I see it all over social media. I've even made TikToks and jokes about it. That we, laugh about how we haven't eaten that day, or, while we're eating, an athlete interrupts us. We use caffeine as a supplement or like, our source to get through the day. Like I live off of caffeine, but it shouldn't be that way. We need to make sure that if we're preaching to our athletes, they need to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. We're getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So if I'm coming home from a football game here in El Paso, our closest town is 4 hours away. Once you get out of El Paso, that's it. There's nothing, right? So if it takes me 4 hours to get to a football game, I'm coming home at 1 in the morning. I'm not coming in at 6 the next day. I'm not coming in at 8 the next day. Granted, that's 7 hours, but I got to, go to bed. I got to wake up in the morning. Like, I'm not coming in until noon the next day at the earliest. I need my sleep. I need my nutrition. And I think this culture of I'm going to grind. I'm going to work 500 hours and I'm going to brag about it. Or this, oh, well, I, didn't have time to go home. So I just slept in my office or I slept in my training room. Like, we don't need to be promoting that. And the younger athletic trainers, those coming out of the master's program, and those that were, in the last phases of the undergrad programs, I think we understand that. We see that. That's our generation. But when these older athletic trainers, and by older, I mean those that have been in the profession 15 years or more, they're sitting there telling us, well, when I was your age or when I was a new athletic trainer, I did this or this is how it was done. That's great. That's wonderful. Look where it got us. Because you did that 15, 20, 30 years ago, look where we are now. We have jobs in the college setting that are paying below the poverty line. We have jobs out there that are advertising themselves as internships, but they require a master's degree, and you're going to make $25,000-$30,000 a year over 10 months. You won't be paid for the summer months, right? And you're going to cover 2, 3, 4 football or sports teams, one of those being football, which is a full-time job in itself. So then we have these, again, master's educated healthcare professionals who aren't even making minimum wage, basically, are rooming 4 to a house, living off ramen noodles, working 16-hour days. They're working 80-hour weeks. Like, and I'm not exaggerating, like they're sleeping in their training rooms, they're coming up there at 2 or 3 in the morning. Like, that is because of what the old professionals did for us. They said yes to those jobs because you got a sweatshirt and a t-shirt and some shoes out of it. You got to say, "Oh, I work for the University of Ohio, or Ohio, whatever. I work for USC, or I get to be an intern for the Dallas Cowboys." Like, that's great and that's wonderful, but that doesn't put food on my table. And we're now standing up for that, and we're now fighting for it and being told, well, we did it, so you have to do it. We earned our pay, our level, whatever. You need to put in that time and work too. And I think that's why we're seeing so many people leave this profession. It's not us, how do I say, we're still putting out the same amount of athletic trainers, right? Like, there's not a decrease in athletic trainers. There's not an athletic trainer shortage like everyone talks about. It's the fact that people are graduating with a master's degree in athletic training, but then moving out of the profession, going on to PT school, going on to PA school, becoming a teacher instead, getting out and doing nothing that's athletic training related. There are some people that have a degree in athletic training and never spend a day as an athletic trainer. They go straight into another profession because it's a stepping stone now. And that should not be what a master's level healthcare profession is a stepping stone to another profession. Like, that's just not how we should be doing this. So again, like, we really need to change the culture that we work in, and then also advocate for ourselves and just really see the warning signs and see all the flags of, hey, something's wrong. So I'm going to close it out really quick, but I want to thank you for tuning in to this special edition of the Debatable podcast. If this episode resonated with you, share it with another athletic trainer who might need a reminder that they're not alone. Follow me on all my social media for more conversations about health, recovery, and life on the sidelines. And remember, it's always who's taking care of the athletic trainer when they're taking care of everyone else.